It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:04 on a game day. It is the another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Nielson, Cass, and Gager back with you once again. Dylan is already in the nasty chat and says, I just smashed that like button so hard because I'm still riding the high of Filthy Bruce being on earlier today. My God, I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch that, man, but Bruce Boudreau, I love that man. It was awesome. I'm going to give him the biggest Christmas hug ever. I don't know. Is that awesome. Awkward, boys? Is it weird? Because we've had him on the show now, so I feel like I can at least give him like a bro hug to get started, right?
I feel like you have to. And Dusty, whatever you have to, if you need to sell your body, you sell your body. You do.
I don't think I need to sell my body to
do what it takes to get him on the show.
Yeah.
You do what it takes to get him on the show regularly. No, that was awesome. It was an awesome segment too. Like if you haven't had a chance, make sure you go back and you either listen to the replay, because I think, I don't know if we'll have a full replay this afternoon because it's a pregame show.
Yeah, that's right.
But make sure you go back and check out both Gager segment and as well as the Boudreau segment on the morning show, because that was awesome. It was like, what a good segment, like easy to listen to, easy to listen to, just some great little stories in there. So that was a lot of fun. I love that. That was awesome.
I might pitch him when I'm over there on hey, if he likes chatting with us. Join us once a week just to talk about whatever's happening in hockey, man. Talk about some wrestling, do a bunch of fun stuff.
Even just talking about coaching and coaching decisions that were made, not like he has to bash anybody, but just talk about what goes into the things. I feel like it'd be so great to just have him on as a resource. I just would love that. I mean, he's been around so long, he's seen so much, and he's an easy conversation. So yeah, it would be.
I was very happy because when I was like, oh man, because Bruce is 68 years old. So I was just like, man, I hope he figures out how to click the link and get everything set up. And when we were sitting there and he was off screen still, and I kind of was just like, oh, just turn your phone and turn it a little bit, and you got it all set up. And then he was great. Gager, for all of us, from back in the 1260 days and the Filthy Bruce segments on the Nielsen show for 15 years or whatever. Today was monumental. I thought Bruce lived up to it, man. I thought he was great.
I loved seeing Bruce, but I hated it, Dusty. I hated it. You two talking about Davos and seeing the excitement in Bruce's face, saying that he said yes before they even asked.
Yeah,
right? It was yeah, I'll do it. And mentioning he would walk there to do this thing. That's the thing, Cass. I have to take you there because you hear the stories, but until you're actually there, you can't believe what's actually happening in that town. It's one of the best parties ever, and I'm completely jealous. But it's going to be awesome, Dusty. Boo to Frölunda that they're in there. That's I hate that Swedish team.
What's the story there?
That's where Henrik Lundqvist played when I was battling against him in the Swedish Elite League, but beat him.
I was going to say, how did those battles go?
I won, but everyone was pumping up this kid, right? And I was playing against him, so I get kind of pumped up for this young Swedish guy that's one of the best. And then I beat him, and then I realized he was 19 years old, and I was 28, and I'm like, oh, that's. I realized how much longer of a runway he had to becoming great, and there's a reason why he's a Hall of Famer now. Because back then he was really, really good.
Fun chat for sure. Gager is right about the Spengler, and it's you're in the cathedral of hockey, basically. That's what it feels like. It is the clubs that are there care so much about it. The community. So this will be number 4 for me, not to rub it in, Gager, but like you said, it's just an amazing party. I haven't really got to experience the party, which is every night after the games, I walk past that big party tent and I go back up the building or back up the hill to the hotel. I have one beer in the lounge with the guys to just wind down from the day. And then I go up and prep for the next day, get up in the morning, prep some more, go back down the rink and do it again. So I popped my head in there once last year and just kind of looked around. I was like, oh my God, this would just be so good for one day. Like, I can't imagine. And for a long time over there, the crew that went just did the Canadian games. And like, then you can really take in the whole sort of vibe of the whole place, right? So I like calling all the games, but if it was just the Canadian games, that wouldn't even be work. Like, that would just be a vacation where you actually happen to get to call 3 Canadian games. So it's, yeah. It's pretty
just walking around. If you just get a chance just to walk during the day and just seeing all these people, it reminds me of Quidditch at Hogwarts with the different houses, all with their banners and cheering, and it's crazy. It's just awesome.
Well, we'll have a recap when I get back. Hopefully Canada can get it done. Bruce Boudreau today, I think it became pretty apparent he really wants to win a title.
Plus 200.
I had a hard time. Yeah, exactly. I had a hard time believing that he's never been a coach of Canada at any level before. That just kind of blows my mind. Dude's been around the National Hockey League pretty successfully for like the last 20 years. That was kind of out there, I thought. But
even in a assistant coach capacity or something, or World Juniors, usually they have
something on
at least
resume,
one kick at the can is with Team Canada. So yeah, it's he'll be jacked for this. It's gonna blow his mind.
Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Dusty, Gage, and Cass with you here on Two Guys and a Goal. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. This text is in and says, guys, we need a Filthy Bruce wrestling hit once a week. Just on what happened, like just what's happening in wrestling right now. I would do that. I would just have a segment where, Bruce, you want to call us to talk wrestling once a week for 10 minutes. And that's it. And if he wanted to do it, I would do it. So we can just say every week, yeah, and we have Bruce Boudreau once a week. Oh, what did he say about breaking up the McDavid line? Oh, I don't know. He was talking about CM Punk's return to WWE. Like, that would be amazing.
It would be awesome too if you got permission from him to like reuse his little clips and just to come up with new Filthy Bruces, like just to keep it going.
Like from the show.
Yeah. Like, that would be awesome.
Or we just tell him, hey, man, you can start swearing. It's okay. I'll just sit here with like one of the hotkeys on my little board here and try to keep up with them. That would be pretty good. Hey, before we came on, Gage, I heard you talking about car troubles, and it reminded me of when I was like 19, 20, 21 years old, driving cars that just should not have been on the road at all. What's going on with your boys' ride? Because isn't that a sweet little ride? And I thought you were very jealous of this car. Like,
well, I was, and I was choked, and because I phoned because the light came on, right? He told me the light came on and the ABS light was flashing a little bit. So I phoned South Nissan, and because it was a used Honda, they said, oh, we don't do the repairs on that. You should take it to a Honda dealership. And I'm not taking it. I took it to my friend who at Mark G Auto. He got back to me. Like, I knew when he phoned me back after I dropped it off this morning. He goes, hey, Joaquin, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, give it.
This is a good start.
And he goes, well, I think you might have to spend some money. Anyways, he said from my understanding, and I'm not a gearhead. You'd think I was with my F1.
Well, with your F1 background, I'm surprised.
I should know the inner workings of the combustible engine, but I'm not great with brakes. So both calipers in the back have seized. The brake pads are scored and worn. And he was saying how because the calipers are seizing, I guess, and that it's dangerous because it's engaging the ABS and could cause my son to be in an accident. And this is like, what, 4 months ago, July or 5 months ago that he bought this car. I just feel that this is something that should have been explained. You know what? These are a little bit old. Like, to have the brake pads completely worn down at this point. And I mean, he drives a few kilometers. Like, he's put on maybe 2,000 in this time, right? Just not enough thing. So I'm more.
We don't need to name names. Did you buy this from a person or from a dealership?
No, it was the dealership.
Yeah. That sucks.
So the guy from service is phoning me back, and we'll see, because it's a huge bill, right?
Yeah, that's a big ticket.
And it's not safe to drive. That's the other thing. Like, it's ridiculous.
I was driving a car. It was a Ford Taurus when I was probably about 24 at the time, maybe. and it started to grind. Like when I pushed on the brakes, there was a loud grind, like, and I was just like, man, I should probably get this checked out at some point, but I didn't. I drove on it for like 6 weeks, including a trip down to Lethbridge to see my buddies. And finally in Lethbridge, one of my buddies was like, dude, you got to take this car in, man. Like something is definitely wrong with that. I said, I know, but I got no money. Like, what am I going to do? I can't get a new car. So they forced me to take the vehicle in, and the guy like lifts it up and takes off the tire, and whatever's attached there fell right off. It fell right off. I was just like, what's that? He goes, well, that's your brake. I said, well, what? He goes, it was grinding because it was on the inside of your wheel well. And when you were pushing it was grinding on the inside of the wheel well. And I was just like, oh, my God, I guess that's not good. He goes, no, this is the worst I've ever seen. He goes, you should have been in an accident 1,000 times over. He goes, you're ridiculous, man. So I was just like, wow. I said, so what's the damage? And it was a lot of money. And I had no other way to get back to Edmonton. So I called my dad, who's already, I owed him thousands of dollars on cars already. I was like, hey. So, and he goes, well, where are you? I was like, I was down in Lethbridge visiting my buddies. He goes, why did you drive that car down to Lethbridge? I was just like, well, I want to go see the boys. So he goes, well, I'm not giving you any money. You're on your own. I was like, damn it. So I called my sister, who's like 2 years younger than me and going to the U of A at the time. And I was like, I need you to give me $2,000 right now because I got to get this thing fixed. And sure enough, she came through for me. I get back home, and then my dad found out that I called my sister to borrow money from the student who I was living on her couch at the time in Edmonton. Like, I was a bloody train wreck, probably up until about the age of 27 when I moved to Fort Mac. Then I started to get my life together. But when I heard you talking about that, I was like, oh, I got a story about driving too long on bad brakes. Like it's just disastrous. Yeah. Disastrous.
And I wish I knew how to do all that stuff too. Like but I just, no.
All right. You can hit us up in the nasty chat. You can also text us 780-218-9999. And we'll get to some of those as well. For sure. 780-218-9999. It is a game day. Oilers and Islanders. I've got 7 players who played for both teams. And we're going to play a little game a little bit later on where I'll bring up the player, go over some of their stats and info and maybe some other trades, give them some history, like almost like a mystery player, and you guys can guess which player it is that played for both teams. So we'll get into that a little bit. Let's just start with the lineup itself, Cass. I'd love your thoughts, and I know you'll be on pregame here with Tommy a little bit later on today. That's going to be happening at 4 o'clock up till 5:30, and Puck Drop tonight on Edmonton Sports Talk, the Oil Stream pregame show, postgame to follow. But Cass, what do you think of them breaking up this McDavid line that's been absolutely dynamic for the last month or so, and moving Nuge down to play with Leon Draisaitl and try to get some secondary punch going right now?
Well, that's what you're looking for with this, and we will talk about it. It's going to be, the preview. We'll unpack this again on Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite Real Estate later on today. But you're trying to find some solutions for that middle group. Like Leon hasn't been going. They've made some mistakes. They've struggled a little bit. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, for as dominant as that line has been, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he had some opportunities to score last game, which were great, but made a couple mistakes. And Leon played maybe his worst game of the season, or one of his worst games of the season. And so you're trying to really, this is about trying to get him going, trying to find some balance in that lineup. Your middle six hasn't been very good, hasn't really been able to contribute. The fourth line has been rock solid. So you're mixing things up to try to get it working. You've lost 2 games in a row, so you're going to try something a little bit different. And, I think you're hoping that McDavid has just been so good, and he has been, and he's been so dynamic that just continues, that it's kind of like whoever you're putting with him right now is going to have some success, and hopefully putting a guy in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on Draisaitl's line to get him going, because he hasn't found that success. Now all you need is Kyler Yamamoto. So back to the Nudie line.
You did love that Nudie line. You really did.
I did love that Nudie line.
Yeah, Nudie's also one of the most risque things you've ever said on 2 guys and a goalie. So we got that going for us too. Gager, what are they? Is this a move to simply try to get Draisaitl going? Is that, and to me, I don't know if you should have to make moves to get Leon Draisaitl going. It seems a little strange.
It might look that way to Dusty, and I think that's a little bit of it. But I do think, because you are going out on the road and having one line that seems to be the only one contributing offensively, aside from, I guess, the fourth line. They've been quite good. That you just need to balance out the scoring because it gives the other teams the opportunity to match and really try to do their best against one line. Is it a good idea? I still just wanted to see if those guys could turn it around themselves. I understand with the last 2 games, especially last game, not getting a lot going offensively, that there needs to be a change made. But to me, I just thought it was only a matter of time. Leon Draisaitl is widely considered one of the top 5 players in the league. And I know there's certain points of the season where things aren't going to go well, but he's the type of player I think that can make the people around him better. Not so much he needs help himself getting going. I don't think that should be required for him, but I do understand the switch going out on this road trip just because they are looking for more production from other parts aside from just the Connor McDavid line.
Cass, how would you describe Draisaitl 5-on-5 so far this year?
Lacking in confidence.
Okay.
Lacking in confidence. I think there's been stretches, especially at the start of the year, where he didn't have confidence, wasn't making great plays offensively, and wasn't doing anything defensively. If I could describe him during that winning streak, I would say that he was taking some of the risk offensively out of his game and playing much better defense. Like he really was. How many times over that stretch of games did we see him throw a backhand pass across the blue line? Like we didn't. We really didn't. Like he eliminated, that high risk, high reward from his game. And I think it benefited the team overall. Now it didn't benefit him offensively. And I think that kind of built up a little bit of non-confidence again, 5-on-5. And then, yesterday, not that he was, or last game, not that he was cheating that much on the offensive side of the puck, but, just a few cracks in the defensive game there too. So he's been, I think slowly warming up on the power play, and then 5-on-5, he hasn't really hit his stride fully yet. And we've seen McDavid find it. McDavid has been absolutely flying. And while Leon has found ways to put up points and to continue to chip away a little bit, he just hasn't quite been at that dominant level we've seen him at times in the past. So yeah, if I was going to say something, it would be like, not confident. If I was going to break it down into like a very short thing
right now, and this could change tonight because there's 4 guys grouped very closely together, but Draisaitl is 6th on the Oilers in 5-on-5 scoring right now. Bouchard and him, they're tied for 5th. Bouchard's got 16 even strength points in 28 games. Draisaitl's got 16. Kane's got 17. Nuge has 17. Hyman has 22. And Connor McDavid has 24. So he has 16 even strength points so far this year. 16 power play points so far this year. And then 1 shorthanded point. So Nuge will slide down there. Gager, what do you think about Fogle being the guy on the right wing with those 2 guys? Is this almost by default, do you think? Or is that justified? Or is there just nobody else there? Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Janmark playing up there, but what do you think of Fogle getting that call?
I think Fogel's been a very consistent player throughout the whole season. One of the most consistent, I think. You'd like to see. I think we're still waiting to find some finish with Fogle, right? Like he seems to still get chances. To tell you the truth, I don't mind it just with the speed and the physicality of it. Hopefully he can generate a little bit of chaos on the forward check. But yeah, we need to find someone who can finish a little bit better, or those guys have to find that gear in their game that they can put the puck in the net.
What about Evander Kane recently, Cass? I mean, he's going to be the one that slides up. He was with Draisaitl, took him away. I would have liked to have seen Kane kind of go back with Draisaitl and maybe take Connor Brown off of that group and see what those 2 guys could do with a Janmark or a Fogle or somebody else, or a Gagne on that right side. Instead, Kane will kind of not go back with Draisaitl, skip right over it and get up on that line with McDavid and Hyman. McDavid and Hyman are going to drive a line for sure. What have you thought of his? I know he's missed some skates and stuff. Tommy said a few times that he's kind of been banged up. Do you when you watch him play, are you seeing him play like he's banged up a little bit? And do you think he takes advantage of this opportunity here?
Yep, I think he's been a little banged up. Now he was throwing some hits again and was a little more physically involved against Florida. So maybe he's starting to recover here, but he has, I think, been banged up, and I think it has shown in the I don't want to say the willingness to engage, but the ability maybe to engage fully physically. Where when Evander Kane's at his best, he's physical, he's involved, he's around the net, he's in the corners, and we've maybe seen a little bit less of that recently. Now, is he fully recovered? Don't know. But I would say I saw a little bit more of that last game. I think you bring up an interesting thought of keeping him with Draisaitl and then moving
somebody
Brown
else
around. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Well, Gage, Draisaitl and Kane should be able to physically dominate other lines, shouldn't they? Those are two big bodies.
That's why it looked like it was a matter of time with him and Kane, and it didn't seem to work. Maybe it was Kane was a little bit banged up, but yeah, you'd think that kind of heavy, because I forget which game they went to it, and it looked like, I think it was before the Minnesota game at home, just being a heavier team to play against, just to dominate down low in the offensive zone and be able to stop cycles and do the same on the defensive side. It just, sometimes chemistry is a funny thing with players, right? It just, some guys just don't mesh well with their styles. I do think it was, if they kept with it, something would develop there. But yeah, I really wanted to see Kane and Draisaitl kind of just become a duo, so to speak, just because really Leon Draisaitl is a playmaker by coming into, like, his passing, his vision is unbelievable. And Kane has a uncanny knack to find those soft areas and get the puck off on net in places where he's going to score. So that's what I was looking for, but it just didn't manifest.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and we'll get to a few more of those as well as we work our way through the show, setting up the Oilers and the Islanders here. Okay, so because of the shuffle in the top six, Brown slides down and we'll play with McLeod and Matthias Janmark. Cass, how do we gauge a successful night for that trio right now?
Plus line.
That's
Even
it. That's
better.
all you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
You said even or better, so not plus, just not minus.
Not necessarily plus, just not minus. Just not minus. I think for me that would be a positive night. That would be a good night for that line in particular. Now, not necessarily for the team as a whole, but for that group. Even or better.
I like that. I would say I'd like to see some physicality too. I'd like to see them finish with, as a line, at least in double-digit hits, right? I think that just a body punching type of line that's fast and difficult. I know McLeod's on that line, but maybe those other guys kind of play a certain way and can draw him into it.
We asked this question yesterday on the Oil Stream. I want to ask it of you guys right now. Who's been a bigger disappointment this season? Brown or McLeod? Cass, what do you think?
Brown.
Yeah.
Brown. Look at the contract. So McLeod, I think it's fair to say he's been disappointing this season. At least he scored a couple goals, even if one of them was an empty netter.
The Oilers could have got out of the Brown contract, though. He didn't do anything. They could have just said, that's it. You know, they could have just said, go play in the American League. We don't have to pay the bonuses next year. You know.
No, it's not like anyone was going to pick him up off of waivers. So yeah, that to me is just not even from a play, because he's done some good things like on the penalty kill. But how, just with the salary difference between the two of them, how can you not say it's Connor Brown?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say McLeod. We saw what he did last year. It's what really hurts, Dusty, is when you go on Cap Friendly and look what Bukestad had signed for. Exact same, right? And I think if you could trade McLeod for Bukestad right now, you would do it. And just the the flybys, the non-physical play, not scoring. He's been, to me, one of the most frustrating players. A little bit too, from when looking at who the Oilers could possibly play further down the road in the playoffs. You look at Dubois. Now the Kings have those three big, tough centers to play against. You were hoping that McLeod would bring his game to a level that you're not worried about having to go up against one of those guys. And if he's not willing to pay the price, it's not a switch. I don't think you can just turn on. You have to build up to play this way. And the lack of production offensively, I just feel that McLeod has been a much bigger disappointment, just because, well, Brown coming off the injury, I knew it wasn't going to be lights out from the start. Shouldn't have gave him the 10 games. Should have been 20.
That's a good point. I mean, he could have found himself a little bit more leeway on the contract situation, I would think. It's interesting, a few of the points. Like, McLeod is 24 and should be progressing, and he's not. That's insanely disappointing. He should see that, as you said, Gager, I mean, they're going to go up against some teams with three centers. He should see what this team needs him to be. And they don't need him to be Ryan McLeod right now. You know, like they need him to play a little bit more physical. They need him to obviously produce a little bit. I know he's on the penalty kill. That's a positive there. On the other side with Brown, guy hadn't played in a year. Maybe we shouldn't really have had many expectations for him. But at the same time, Cass, he also has pretty much had all of his ice time playing with Draisaitl or McDavid, and you still only managed to come away with a single point so far. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting discussion, but I tend to maybe give the guy who didn't play for a year a bit of the benefit of the doubt, whereas I can't give Ryan McLeod benefit of the doubt in any single way.
Was he was supposed to be an upgrade for Yamamoto, essentially?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect a very different type of player and an upgrade on a guy that could provide finish playing in the top six. Let's be honest. They brought him in here to be their sixth forward in the top six. And Yamamoto, while he went through stretches of not producing when in the top six, he still did every once in a while, which Brown has not been able to do. Cass, I mean, it's different because, they pushed most of the cap hit for Brown to next year. That's where they could fit him in this year. So Yamamoto was still a cap casualty. But just the two players themselves, I mean, Yamamoto would have been making a bigger impact than what Brown would be doing right now for this team, right?
Well, and even if you just look at statistics, I mean, Yamamoto has mostly been playing third and fourth line minutes, a little bit on the power play in Seattle. 33 games played, 6 goals, 4 assists. So, he's on pace for 13 or 14 goals, maybe up to 15 with playing very limited minutes. So you're kind of looking at the two, and I know there's people that just wanted him out of town, and I know it was largely due to cap constraints that he was gone. But yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that Brown hasn't been able to find anything. And it's not that he hasn't done anything good. We talked about him already on the penalty kill. He's been around it a little bit, had a goal called back. But yeah, I mean, here's a guy that you brought in to upgrade in that slot. I mean, most of us were penciling him in on the first or the second line on that side to be a shooter, to be a guy that was going to finish, to be a guy that was going to score goals. And it just hasn't materialized, which has certainly made it more challenging for this team to find combinations and find lines that are going to regularly be able to produce, and guys that can play consistently in the top six.
Nielson, Cass, and Gage are with you here on Two Guys and a Goalie. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to slide in at 780-218-9999 or hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Hey, boys, to get that second line going, has anyone tried to ask Draisaitl why he's so pissy? Is Tommy willing to hop on that grenade for the fan base? Hey, Tommy, listen, man, we're going to need to send you down there and do something to get Draisaitl fired up. Thank you very much. I think that's a good way to look at it. That's a good one. 780-218-9999. Stuart Skinner back in the net here for the Edmonton Oilers. Gager, we talked about a little bit on the Nielsen show today, but in no way would it have changed the outcome, I think, of that game against Florida. I'm not hanging that game on Pickard in any way. Cash, do you think it would have?
Well, maybe. You can't say that you know for a fact that it wouldn't have. Like,
I'm thinking what goals would he have? What goals would he have saved that pick? Oh, listen to this guy. Listen to this guy, a big Skinner hardo here. I thought there was some pretty good looks that nobody was stopping, including Bobrovsky at the other end if he was in the Oilers' net. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Gage, you tell us. Did Pickard allow some softies on Saturday? I didn't like the way he played the puck on Saturday. I will say that.
Yeah, but like I said this morning, Dusty. After Skinner essentially being the reason the team lost, there was a fire lit under him to correct his mistakes, have a great game the next game. And sometimes the bounce back game, coming back after a couple softies and a loss, you feel crappy, man. And I said this morning, I just thought it was a mistake by Knoblauch. It was inconsistent messaging of the team that makes mistakes that you're not going to get in again. And it's funny because I thought that the opportunity to start Pickard against Chicago was missed. And I just thought the opportunity to put your number one guy back into the game after having a poor one, you rarely see that. You rarely see you in the NHL. Your top dog having a bad game if he hasn't played a ton. Like it's not like he was overworked at that point. There was a lot of breaks in there. There was an opportunity to put a guy in to have a night, and maybe he makes one or two of those miraculous saves that we saw Vasilevsky do, right? Like maybe he does have one of those games because he had such a poor third period against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I said I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I thought that was Skinner's game. Pickard's going to play something on the road here. Another missed opportunity.
Cass, do you play Skinner in any way 3 of 4 before Christmas? Or the 3 and 4 days, all 3 of them? Even the back-to-backs. Like, what if he plays awesome tonight and you give him the Rangers and he plays awesome again?
Yeah, you don't want to give him the back-to-back. Like, I wouldn't want to give him the back-to-back. I mean, to me, he's going to probably play the second game in that back-to-back against New York. Yeah, I wouldn't play him all 3. No. Why would you do that? Which is why kind of I didn't understand. Another reason why I didn't understand the not playing him
on the Saturday because now you're splitting the last 4 games here, right?
You're splitting the last 4 games, and you're going to have a break. So I was like, okay, well, I would have played him in that one, and played him again tonight, and then he gets one of the 2 in the back-to-back. So it never really made sense to me. Like I would have thought there would have been fire there for him to come back and to try to redeem himself. There would have been a lot of focus, and so yeah, I didn't like the decision to go away from him. Now maybe it was planned from the beginning. I don't know, but yeah, I wanted to see him back out there.
That's interesting.
Maybe
I was just gonna say it's interesting that Cass brought it up, Gage. Maybe it was planned from the beginning, but I don't think that would have been planned from the beginning, right? I don't think you would have. Well,
maybe load management, like because you're trying to work in your backup for a certain amount of games. Like if we look at the broad picture of the entirety of the season, it's like, well, you're trying to make sure that you're not overplaying Skinner and that you're giving him a reasonable and responsible amount of games. And so maybe you view this as an opportunity to try to do that against a non-division team, right? Because if you're having to work him into games, I mean, if you can do it against non-division teams, your backup in Pickard, well, you're going to try to have him against teams where it's like it still impacts you if you lose, but it's different than a division game or a conference game even. So, you're playing a team from out east. Maybe they viewed it as, okay, here's an opportunity to get this guy another game and to give, continue to try to be responsible with the number of games Skinner's playing. But just with the breaks that were coming up, I didn't like it.
Maybe they're just trying to boost up Pickard's trade value.
Brilliant. That'll go a long way, I would think. Okay, Ottawa Senators. Let's go there. They make the coaching change. Thought Craig Butt made an interesting point on the Nielsen show today, how he figured they probably did it a couple weeks too late. They probably could pull the trigger on this before. Cass, do you think how much of the Ottawa Senators' lack of a step forward, like many of us have been expecting, is on the coaching? Because I do like the pieces that they've got some really, really good players in Ottawa.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to look, and I know there's been challenges from a player personnel standpoint the last number of years. I'm surprised it didn't happen a couple weeks earlier, because really all you have to do, and that's not to say he's a bad coach, but look at DJ Smith's record in Ottawa. Like his winning percentage isn't very good, and again, there's been some times when they haven't had pieces there, but it hasn't got much better with the pieces there. Right. And so you have a change in ownership. Now you have a change in management. I mean, to me, it should have probably been done a couple of weeks ago. And you bring in, Martin, and you bring in Alfie, and, right when you brought those guys in, I think writing was on the wall. I don't know why it took so long. But I think, unlike the Oilers situation, DJ Smith isn't a coach that has like a super long track record of winning seasons and getting the most out of this group. It's a team that has struggled. They have struggled from a confidence standpoint. They've just struggled, period. And again, there's other organizational things that have gone on, but to me, I'm just surprised it took them this long to pull the trigger on it.
I really thought they were doing their due diligence and trying to find their guy, right? And I thought it was a little bit surprising to keep Jacques Martin
just
on.
Still throw him as an interim, right? Like
I don't know if he's the answer to that group. It was just surprising I thought they would make a move for a more permanent guy with if you look at the actual talent pool of NHL coaches, that guys who got dismissed, I think not just because of just a bad stretch, a little bit of a bad stretch. There's some really good NHL coaches that in the past have shown to turn their teams around. So, we'll probably, maybe the whole Staios is going to do a whole forensic audit on who he wants to be his bench boss going to next year. Because, I'm not surprised it was done. We've been saying how the Ottawa Senators should be a playoff team for last 2 seasons here.
They should have pushed last year. They should have been pushing for wild card.
There was some injuries too. They had some injuries in goal. Like they've had a little bit of they've been a little bit unlucky. But look, that team should be challenging. It should be a tough night every night they play against. They got a lot of really good pieces.
Here's a hot take. Is I think the coach that will be hired at some point, maybe in the offseason, is Jay Woodcroft.
Okay, so are you hearing that, or you think it would make sense? Because
I think it would make sense. I haven't heard that, but I think it would make sense. I think it would make sense.
Cool bet.
Well, do you think it makes sense, Cass, just because he's a good coach for the younger pieces that they have there? Because I know some people might say, well, he'll go there because of Staios, but Staios wasn't here when they brought in Jay Woodcroft. Like Woodcroft isn't a Staios guy.
No.
So to me, you're just thinking based on justifying it through Woodcroft's coaching abilities.
Woodcroft's coaching abilities, his coaching record, his abilities that he has shown with younger skilled players to have some good results. To me, it just makes sense. So no, that's not something I'm hearing. It's not an insider rumor that's going around. To me, I just look at it and I go, okay, if the coaches that are out there and that are available, that's one that makes sense to me. That got probably let go for not his own fault. So yeah, I think I mean, I would not be shocked if that's what happens.
Is there any chance Alfredson is a head coach?
Maybe, but he hasn't been in that role before.
No, that's the thing. That feels like they wouldn't do that.
It feels like they wouldn't do that. Now to have him as an assistant coach, like let's just say, okay, you bring in Woodcroft and you have Manson on the back end, because that probably is what would happen. Most likely, Woodcroft would want to bring Manson in. Would it shock me that they would keep Alfie on as an assistant coach and have him running on the forward side, running the power play sort of thing, that wouldn't shock me either, to keep him involved, to let him get experience in that coaching position with the mindset of, well, at some point there could be an opportunity here for him. Alfie has been, for all that he hasn't been on the bench, he's been around from a development standpoint, like helping players. He's been on ice for those practices. He's been in the coaching meetings. Like he's been around it, but he hasn't, had a full head coaching job or even a full assistant coaching job yet to this point. So I would say less likely that he gets, a head coaching position. Now, would he and could he get it at some point, whether it's in Ottawa or somewhere else? Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Does he have a great personality for it? For sure. Does he think the game well enough? Yes, he does. Now, I haven't seen him as a in the pure coaching role, but I can tell you just from how he ran things inside a dressing room that he's got tools. Definitely has tools in terms of communication, in terms of being clear with expectations with players and holding players accountable, and running things on ice. He's got the tools to do it. He just doesn't have necessarily that actual experience yet. So wouldn't shock me if at some point he gets an opportunity to do that, if that's what he wants to do. But not right out of the gate here. If
he wants to do it, it would be a huge mistake by the Ottawa Senators letting him go and do that somewhere else. I'm saying in an assistant coaching role, right? Like,
you'd want to keep him there. That's what I said. Where, if you had, again, I'll just use Woodcroft as an example. Brings in a D coach and say, okay, well, you get to pick one coach. Alfie's also staying on as your forward guy and your power play guy. I mean, that totally makes sense to me.
Just for the young stars on that team to lean on a guy that has been a superstar in the league, I think there's too many little intangibles that he can help them with that would be beneficial for that team.
I feel like part of us should be mocking the Ottawa Senators just because it's like if this was in Edmonton, brought back an old coach on an interim basis. Like, what's that going to do? Oh, and you're taking a former player and put him on the bench. I look at it and go, man, we've been on the other side of this here in Edmonton. Everybody's like, this is a joke. And now they're doing it in Ottawa right now at a point where, Cass, is this season salvageable? Like, but it almost, like, would this not come across as almost like to the players, we've put this season in neutral for now with this interim tag on this coach?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they feel that. And really, like from a, I mean, I guess there are ways out of it from a point standpoint, but they have a ton of games in hand. So they're at 26 games played, 22 points. And if we look up, wild card, if we look up at the standings here for them, that's, I mean, they're not probably catching Washington at this point, but they have the potential to get close to Detroit. Like, you're not so far out of it that the season's not salvageable yet. Now you'll need to play some really good hockey in order to claw your way back into it. Not likely at this point that you make it back into the playoffs, but it's I'm not ready to call it yet.
Yeah. There's a lot of games in hand there. They've only played 26.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, you got to win those games, but that's essentially, that's 8 points that they could get right back into the mix. And, with the coaching change, there's usually a little bit of a bump there. Maybe they go on a run and now they're battling it out, which they should be. They shouldn't be that far down, in my opinion.
Island Life on Twitter just kind of replies to one of my tweets and says, Stales was with the Oilers when Woody was there, so there is a connection. It's just interesting that two other teams like Minnesota and St. Louis did not have any desire for him. And I think you just don't see, I know it's happened, but you just don't see it very often, Cass, where a coach is fired by one team and hired by another team a month later in the same season, right? Like, just...
Well, I think it's a summer move, though. Yeah. I think with slapping, like on Martin, the interim
for the rest of the year.
For the rest of the year, and then you look to make that move in the summer.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for the Ottawa Senators. One of those teams that we thought would take a pot. We were wondering. They were one of those, Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa, which of these teams sort of step up this year. Detroit has been one that has so far. Ottawa with a lot of good pieces, Kachuk, Timmy Stutzel, some of the guys they got on the back end. Get a goalie. Get a goalie. And see what that can do for you there as well. Okay, so the Oilers get the Islanders tonight, boys. I got names of 7 players, and here's the game we're gonna play. So I'm bringing up their Hockey DB page, and I'm going to read the teams that they played on throughout their career in order. And you guys try to guess who it is. I don't know if this is going to be too difficult. I'll give you some clues, I guess, along the way. But you just have to think of players who played for both the Oilers and the Islanders, all right? And then when you just yell at the player. We don't have to go, just yell at the player today. Okay, here we go. Started with the Los Angeles Kings. Came to the Oilers. Went to the Ducks. Finished his career on the island. I'll give out more clues as we work our way through this, but so
Kings, Ducks, Islanders.
Oilers, Ducks, Islanders.
You go there.
I
had who I thought it was, but I don't think
was once traded for one of the guys on Spittin' Chicklets.
Was it Tom Pody?
No. The guys out there got it. They're listening out in the room. They got it.
Of course they got it.
Oh, I mean,
bunch of nerds.
It was a defenseman.
Oh,
5, 4,
was it
3.
wasn't Sekera, was it? No.
Oh, Spacek.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of.
Lubomir Visnovsky traded for Ryan Whitney.
I got that.
Went to the Ducks in exchange for Ryan Whitney. So that's a big old fat X there. All right, let's go to the next guy on the list here. We'll see where you guys come out on this one. Let's see. All right. Started his career with the Islanders. Came to Edmonton. Went to the Rangers. Then the Ducks. Active player. YouTube Trev's just out there saying the names.
Oh my God.
Had a song on the Nielsen show.
Wasn't
7.
No.
What's that?
No, that's not it.
Nasty Chat has it. Islanders, Oilers, Rangers, Ducks. Was traded for Ryan Spooner.
Oh, Strome.
There you go. Cass got it. Ryan Strome. That's one for Cass. All right, here we go.
Oh, the song. I should have got this.
I thought you get it when I gave the song clue there. I mean, mind you, we've had a song. We technically we had a song for this guy back in the day. So here we go. Here's the next guy. Oilers. Briefly to the Islanders. Avalanche, Kings, back to the Oilers.
Avalanche.
Tommy
Kings.
Gazzola got this one, I think.
Give that order again.
Oilers, 18 games with the Islanders. Avs, Kings, Oilers.
Ryan Smith.
Boom. Gager got it. Ryan Smith. 1-1. All right, here we go. Let's do this one. This is going to be interesting. We'll see who gets it. This is good. I like this game. All right, here we go. Islanders, Oilers, Avalanche. That's it. Islanders, Oilers, Avalanche. Traded from the Islanders to the Oilers. And then was traded from the Oilers to the Avs for someone that Cass has already mentioned in this segment. Here we go. One clue. Get ready. This is going to give it away. Be ready. He's a goalie.
Rolson?
No.
Why would I say no?
5, 4. Swedish. 3, 2.
Fast? Oh no, Tommy Salo.
There you go. Gage got it. All right.
Should have known that.
This is a go. You guys will get this one. I think this one will go quick. This one will go really quick. So be ready for it. Cash, get this to tie it up. We only got 3 players left, including this guy. All right. Oilers, Islanders, Kraken. Boom. Gage got it. Quick.
Just said it too
Yeah,
fast.
you probably knew that one too, Cass. I mean, that was I knew that.
Well, I was waiting for an Eberle one, but he was just quicker on there.
Waiting for it, and you still didn't get it.
Eberle.
No, I just didn't get it in time.
All right. Well, this will be interesting. I think you guys will probably get this one. But it's going back. This guy's retired. I'll give you the clue here. This guy's retired. Oilers, 2 seasons. 2 seasons with the Oilers. Sabres, Islanders, Penguins, Bruins.
Is that Pekka?
No. You can guess again if you want. Majority of his career was played with the Buffalo Sabres. Gage, you might have played with this guy.
Well, say it again.
Oilers, 2 years. Sabres, Islanders, Penguins, Bruins. He's from Slovakia.
It's not Ulanov.
No, he's Russian. That would be a Russian pick, not this guy. Not
Scored.
Russian. No Russians go from Edmonton to Buffalo. Not possible.
Scored 40 goals with the Sabres.
Oh,
I'm so bad at this game.
Was traded to Buffalo for Barry Moore and Craig Miller.
Yeah.
In a trade that everybody always brings up as one of the worst trades in Oilers history.
Oilers, Sabres.
The Devil!
Oh, shit.
There we go.
No, Miro.
There
That's
we go.
it. Worst breath in hockey.
Really?
Jesus.
He just had horrible breath.
God.
I wish I would have known that. I would have given that clue.
Yeah, it curled you. I remember it was in the back of a cab with Dennis Bonvie, and he was at the front.
Dennis
and there was a
Bonvie.
partition about,
And you
we
could
were like,
still
"Geez."
smell it.
Oh.
All right, so there you guys
Yeah.
are tied. Oh, Gager's up 3-2 right now. We didn't get Wisnowski. This is the last one.
gotta get
Cass,
this
if you
one.
get it, it's officially a tie. Gager, if you get it, you win. Here we go. I'm trying to think what other player I could go to. There's probably another one. All right. Islanders, Canucks, Blackhawks, Rangers, Oilers.
Islanders, Canucks, Blackhawks.
Only played 18 games with the Islanders as a young guy. Then went to the Canucks. Played his longest tenures with the Canucks. Blackhawks, Rangers, Oilers.
Jason
Yes! There you go, Gager. You got it. Strutty for the win. Strutty for the win. Nailed it. That was a good one. Nice pull there. That was a fun
What a
game.
soup case.
Oilers and Islanders. Yeah. Yeah. And in 674 games, he scored 13 goals. So, man, that's wild. 13 goals, 674 games. That's crazy.
And they were all awesome.
Just all beauties. All right, so Jason Strudwick locks up the win for Joaquin Gage and 2 guys in the goalie. Speaking of wins, do they get one tonight, Cass? What do you think happens, bud?
I'm going to go with the real because my streak was broken.
Yeah.
So I got to switch it up. I'm going to go with the real prediction. I think Edmonton wins. I think they win 4-2 with an empty netter.
4-2 empty netter, so that would be under the 6.5. Currently available over at Coolbet. Gager, what do you got?
Oh, I got the Oilers winning. Well, they better because they're I selected in my pool bet or my cool bet stuff. So I like that score, but I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna actually see a goaltending duel tonight. So I'm gonna go 2-1 Oilers.
A goaltending duo, which is follow up on my play of Stuart Skinner being a third in the 3 stars tonight. I like a bounce back there for Skinner. By the way, over at Coolbet right now, the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay is up. Connor McDavid, 2+ points. Evander Kane with a goal, and the Oilers to win plus 440, which is a pretty nice number. So McDavid over 1.5 points. Evander Kane 1+ goals. Oilers to win at plus 440. And, you can snag that right now over. Go to coolbet.com, click on the exclusives, and then click on Edmonton Sports Talk Parlay. McDavid 2 points, Kane goal, Oilers to win, plus 440. Something to cheer for as you watch the game tonight. Pre-game show coming up here at 4 o'clock on Edmonton Sports Talk. Nielsen Show replay coming up right now on the TuneIn app. And at edmontonsportstalk.com. Tommy and Cass, YouTube Trev, getting you ready for the Oilers and Islanders a little bit later on this afternoon. I guess this will be the final 2 guys in the goalie. until the new year. I know Maddie's planning on, and Tommy, Maddie, you're going to work with you guys in the first week of January. So I will see you guys second week of January. Merry Christmas, boys, and a Happy New Year.
Absolutely.
Have fun in Switzerland.
I'll send you lots of pictures, Gager. How's that sound?
Bastard.
See you, buddy.